Your legs are not getting weaker with age. Something else is quietly happening underneath. After years reviewing charts before cardiology visits, I noticed the same pattern. I have watched this exact pattern repeat itself. The cause is not stress, not aging alone. It is something sitting quietly in your pill organizer, right next to your vitamins, looking completely harmless. Almost nobody warns you about this before you start. Maybe you started stretching more before bed. Maybe you added more walking to your routine. Maybe you mentioned the ache to your doctor. You were told it was probably nothing serious. The appointment moved on before you finished explaining. There is a deeper reason almost nobody discusses this. Well, it connects directly to the medication protecting your heart. This is not simple aging, and it is not overuse. It is not something you did wrong at all. The real reason surprises most people who hear it. If your legs changed after starting this kind of medication, this is for you. By the end, you will understand why, and what gentler options may exist. Cholesterol-lowering medication is one of the most common treatments given to adults over 60. It works by changing how your liver processes fat in your bloodstream. This matters because ignoring it or assuming it is only aging can mean missing a simple adjustment. That adjustment could make you far more comfortable. The action step today is simple. Notice when your leg discomfort began and whether it lines up with any medication change. Here is the claim worth sitting with for a moment. The type of medication designed to lower your cholesterol and protect your heart can also cause new trouble in the legs. In a real and documented number of people, it brings on new aching, soreness, heaviness, or cramping. It makes complete sense that this feels confusing and even a little frightening. The very medication meant to protect you seems to be working against your body in a different way. That contradiction is exactly why so many people quietly stop mentioning it or assume it must be unrelated. Doctors and major medical institutions, including well-respected sources like the Mayo Clinic, have long noted something important. Muscle-related discomfort is among the more commonly reported effects of this class of medication. This is part of why the legs, some of the hardest working muscles in your body, tend to feel it first. Some specialists in this field have described this energy disruption in a simple way. It is similar to asking your legs to run a full day on half a tank without ever refueling properly. That image alone helps explain why simple daily tasks can suddenly feel harder. Climbing stairs, standing at the sink, walking to the mailbox, all of it can feel more demanding than before. What deepens this picture even further is timing. This kind of muscle discomfort often does not appear on the very first day. It tends to build gradually over 2 to 6 weeks. By the time the ache becomes noticeable enough to mention, the new pill bottle no longer feels new. The connection between the two often gets missed entirely. It also helps to understand what this discomfort usually feels like, because it has a fairly recognizable shape. Many people describe it as a dull, heavy soreness rather than a sharp or stabbing pain. It feels closer to having climbed far more stairs than you actually did, or finishing a long walk you never took. It often sits symmetrically, after standing for a long stretch, or even first thing in the morning. This symmetry matters, because pain on only one side is more likely to point towards something else. A joint issue or a circulation concern is more likely to affect just one leg. That is exactly why paying close attention to the pattern is so valuable. A few other everyday factors can make this muscle discomfort feel noticeably worse. Being dehydrated, pushing through an unusually intense workout, or taking certain other medications at the same time can all play a part. Simple, normal aging-related muscle loss can layer on top of this effect too. None of that means the medication itself is not involved. It simply means several things can be happening together at once. That is exactly why a doctor needs the complete picture rather than a single symptom in isolation. If this sounds like your own experience, here is something worth doing today. Do this without changing any medication on your own. Start a simple daily note, just a word or two, tracking how your legs feel each morning and evening. Add anything unusual you did that day, like a longer walk or a missed glass of water. Bring that pattern to your next appointment, written down, dated, and specific. Do not try to describe it from memory. In the room, this single habit turns a vague complaint into something a doctor can actually act on. It often shortens the entire path to an answer. Written down, dated, and specific. Do not try to describe it and that leads to an important safety point that applies to everything in this video. Never stop, start, or adjust any medication on your own, no matter how confident you feel about the cause. Stopping a heart-protecting medication abruptly can carry real risks of its own. Always bring this conversation directly to your doctor first, and be specific rather than general. For some patients, doctors find that a different type of cholesterol medication works better. One that works through an entirely different pathway in the body can cause far less muscle discomfort. There is a specific number tied to how common this really is, and it changes how seriously this deserves to be taken. This next part matters because it explains exactly how common this experience actually is. It also explains why you are far from alone in noticing it. Research into this type of medication has consistently found something important about muscle-related symptoms. They are one of the most frequently reported reasons patients bring up concerns with their doctor. Some studies suggest that as many as 1 in 10 people who take this type of medication notice some form of new muscle discomfort. That number matters, because it means this is not a rare, unusual reaction happening only to you. It is common enough that most primary care doctors and cardiologists have heard this exact description many times. That may not have felt true in a rushed 15-minute appointment. Understanding why the number is that high requires looking a little deeper at how this medication works. It targets an enzyme in the liver that plays a central role in producing cholesterol. That process is exactly what lowers your risk of heart attack and stroke. That same enzyme pathway also plays a role in producing a natural compound your muscle cells rely on for energy. This is especially true in large, frequently used muscles like the legs, particularly during or after activity. Researchers have also observed that this effect can be dose-related. A higher daily amount tends to raise the odds of noticing it. A lower amount, when medically appropriate, sometimes reduces it without giving up meaningful heart protection. This is now a good moment to pause for a second. If this is resonating with you, tap the like button below. Share your own age and what you have been noticing in the comments. This channel will also be covering home remedies and gentle natural approaches in future videos. Coming back to this specific point, it is worth understanding that not everyone reacts to this medication the same way. Age itself plays a real role, since muscle mass and muscle recovery naturally decline over the decades. That decline can make older adults more sensitive to any added strain on muscle tissue. Kidney function, liver function, and thyroid activity can all influence how your body processes this medication. Other medications you may be taking at the same time can also change how strongly the discomfort feels day to day. Some people notice it mostly at night when the legs have been still for hours. Others notice it most after a full day of errands, gardening, or standing in the kitchen. This is part of why a doctor needs the full picture, not just the symptom on its own. Two people on the exact same medication can have completely different experiences. A specific, practical action step here is worth writing down for your next visit. Ask your doctor directly whether a simple blood test can check for elevated muscle enzyme levels. That test can help confirm whether what you are feeling is connected to the medication. Or something separate, it is a quick, low-cost test that many doctors are willing to order once you specifically ask. It is a quick, low-cost test that many doctors are willing to order once you specifically ask. It is a quick, low-cost test that many doctors are willing to order once you specifically ask. It is a quick, low-cost test that many doctors are willing to order once you specifically ask. It is a quick, low-cost test that many doctors are willing to order once you specifically ask. It is a quick, low-cost test that many doctors are willing to order once you specifically ask. It is a quick, low-cost test that many doctors are willing to order once you specifically ask. It is a quick, low-cost test that many doctors are willing to order once you specifically ask. As always, never stop or change any medication before that conversation happens. Stopping suddenly on your own can carry its own risks for your heart, including a rebound rise in cholesterol. Some doctors, once this connection is confirmed, choose to lower the dose or change the timing. Moving the dose to before bed instead of morning is one common adjustment doctors consider. Others may recommend a completely different class of cholesterol-lowering medication that works through a separate pathway. Some patients tolerate that different pathway with far less muscle involvement. There is no single right answer for every person, since bodies respond differently. That is exactly why this conversation belongs with your own doctor, not a general assumption. Keep that number in mind, because it becomes important again by the end of this video. It is time to answer the question this entire video has been building toward. It is not the first thing most people assume, that this is simply normal aging catching up with you. It is not the second thing either, that you are somehow overdoing it with exercise. It is something most people consider completely harmless, a small pill taken once a day. It comes from a medication that is otherwise protecting your heart. That reaction is common enough that roughly 1 in 10 people taking this medication experience some version of it. It is not a personal failure, and it is not proof that something is seriously wrong with you. It is a known, studied pattern that has a name, a mechanism, and a path forward. Once you see it this way, the whole experience stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling manageable. A problem with a known cause is always easier to address than a vague ache with no explanation. This also explains why so many people feel dismissed when they first bring it up. A brief symptom description in a rushed appointment rarely captures the full pattern. A written log of timing, location, and severity almost always does capture it. That single shift from a vague complaint to a documented pattern changes the conversation. It is often what moves a doctor from quick reassurance into real investigation. It also helps to remember that bringing this up again does not mean questioning your doctor's judgment. It simply means giving them new, more specific information than they had the first time. Most doctors genuinely want this kind of detail because it lets them do their job well. A second set of eyes often notices patterns you might not think to mention yourself. Limping slightly by evening or resting more often on stairs are easy details to miss. The single most important insight from everything you just heard is this. New leg discomfort after starting this kind of medication is not something to quietly push through. It is not something to dismiss as aging. It is a specific, recognizable pattern. It has a name, a cause, and real options behind it. The one specific action to take today is this: write down when your leg discomfort started, how it feels, and whether it lines up with your medication timeline. Remember that number, because it is the reason this deserves a real conversation instead of a quick dismissal. In an upcoming video, we will walk through exactly which type of doctor to see first. That single choice can save you months of confusion when something like this comes up. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing so you do not miss what comes next. This applies to your health and your family's health in the months ahead. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice.